You're not stuck, you're wired wrong. Most men don't need more motivation. They need a mental reset. This is your wake-up call to break the loop, face the truth, and evolve into the man you were built to be. You've been taught that real men don't ask for help, that silence equals strength, that carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders makes you more of a man. But what if that belief is a very trap keeping you stuck? The lone wolf mentality is glorified in modern male culture, especially among men 25 and up. You're expected to provide, to push through, to figure it all out yourself. Admitting you're overwhelmed? That's a weakness. Asking for support? That's failure. So you soldier on, grinding in silence, pretending everything's fine while battling stress, anxiety, and a creeping feeling that you're not where you're supposed to be. The problem is, wolves don't survive long when they're isolated, and neither do men. You can't evolve in isolation. You might convince yourself you're handling it, but deep down there's a disconnection from others, from yourself, from the life you know you're capable of living. The longer you play solo, the further you drift from clarity, purpose, and peace. Rewiring your life starts by breaking this belief that you're alone in your fight. You're not, and you were never meant to be. When you look at men who have reinvented themselves, those who've gone from rock bottom to purpose-driven living, you'll find something surprising. They didn't do it alone. They had mentors, brothers, coaches, environments that challenged their thinking and held them accountable. They replaced isolation with intentional connection. And that made all the difference. The truth is, reaching out isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of courage. It takes strength to admit you're stuck. It takes humility to say, I don't have all the answers. But in doing so, you unlock something powerful. Perspective. When you connect with other driven men, you gain access to ideas, habits, and mindsets that you'd never discover alone. You collapse years of trial and error into months of growth. Connection also exposes your blind spots. The mental traps you don't even realize you're in, self-sabotage, overthinking, and hiding behind busyness, are often visible to others long before you notice them. That's why growth happens faster when you're seen, challenged, and supported. Rewiring isn't just internal. It's relational. You weren't built to walk through fire alone. You were built to rise with others. If you're tired of the emotional weight, the inner silence, the pressure to always have it together, then maybe it's time to try something different. Not softer, stronger, smarter. Start by opening up. Find a group, a coach, a mentor, someone who challenges your current standards. Surround yourself with people who call you higher, not just those who validate your struggle. You don't need more hustle. You need more alignment. And alignment often begins with connection. Your next evolution won't come from isolation. It will come from breaking that lone wolf mindset and choosing to grow with others. You're grinding every day, checking boxes, chasing goals, and yet deep down it feels like something's missing. You're exhausted, not just physically, but mentally. The reason isn't your work ethic. It's your direction. Hustling without purpose is like running on a treadmill. You sweat, you move, but you don't get anywhere meaningful. Too many men in their 20s and 30s are stuck in this loop. You do what you're supposed to do. Build a career, make money, stay productive. But what happens when you wake up one day and realize the ladder you've been climbing is leaning against the wrong wall? That's a trap, mistaking movement for progress. And until you break that cycle, you'll keep feeling burnout, lost, and disconnected. Rewiring your life means stepping back and asking the question most avoid. Why am I doing this? Not just what you're doing, but why? What's driving your choices, your grind, your goals? When purpose isn't the foundation, pressure fills the void. You start living based on expectations of society, family, or even your past self, instead of your real vision. That kind of life might look successful from the outside, but on the inside, it's hollow. Purpose gives pain meaning. It turns stress into fuel. When you're connected to something bigger than a paycheck or a promotion, setbacks don't break you. They build you. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. An incredible part? Purpose doesn't have to be some huge, world-changing mission. It starts with clarity, knowing what matters to you, what fires you up, What impact do you want to leave? Once that's clear, the hustle becomes strategic, not just busy. There's a reason so many high-performing men hit walls in their 30s. They've mastered productivity, but ignored alignment. They've built skills, but not vision. Rewiring your life requires unlearning the idea that hard work alone is enough. It's not. Direction matters more than speed. The wrong road, no matter how fast you're on it, still leads to the wrong place. This is your invitation to slow down, not to stop, but to reflect. Step out of autopilot. Ask the uncomfortable questions. What are you chasing? And is it even yours to chase? Are you building a life you truly want, or just one that looks good on paper? When you answer that honestly, your energy shifts, your decisions sharpen, your path clears. Purpose isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, you'll keep grinding and wondering why nothing feels like enough. But once you find it, every step forward carries weight. Every task becomes meaningful. Every day starts to feel less like survival and more like intentional evolution. You don't need more time or motivation. You need to reconnect with your why. Because when you align with purpose, you don't just hustle harder, you rise higher. If your value rises and falls with your wins and losses, you're standing on unstable ground. One failure, one setback, or one slow month can crush your confidence. Not because you're weak, but because you've built your identity on outcomes instead of inner worth. And that's the real trap. Most men grow up being measured by grades, stats, income, and performance. So it becomes natural to believe that what you achieve is who you are. But that belief becomes a prison. When your self-worth is tied to success, you'll constantly chase external validation. And when you fall short, which you inevitably will, you start questioning everything. Your ability, your value, your future. It's a brutal cycle, and it silently drains your energy, confidence, and peace. Rewiring your life means detaching who you are from what you produce. You are not your job title. You are not your bank account. You are not your relationship status, gym PR, or social following. These things can be reflections of your habits, but they are not reflections of your soul. The truth is, your worth isn't earned through results. It's realized through identity. And identity is something you choose, not something you prove. When a man understands this, everything changes. He becomes more resilient because setbacks no longer define him. They refine him. He stops being afraid of failure because it no longer threatens his sense of self. He starts taking bold action, not to validate his worth, but to express it. That's the kind of mindset that leads to real evolution. This shift also changes how you treat yourself during hard seasons. When results slow down, when life hits hard, when nothing seems to be working, do you shame yourself? Or do you support yourself like you would a brother? Most men only know how to punish themselves into progress. But shame doesn't build greatness. Self-respect does. When you build your identity on discipline, values, and purpose, instead of external wins, you become untouchable. No loss can shake you because you weren't standing on results to begin with. You're rooted, you're steady, and you show up powerfully regardless of circumstances. This doesn't mean you stop striving or settle for less. It means you play a deeper game. You pursue success, but not at the cost of your soul. You build, but from a place of fullness, not fear. You become dangerous in the best way, not because you're chasing trophies, but because you're anchored in truth. You are not what you achieve. You are who you decide to be, every day, in every choice, regardless of outcome. And when you truly believe that, the world stops controlling your sense of worth. You take it back. You own it. And from there, you evolve without limits. You say you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow keeps moving further away. You tell yourself you'll change when things calm down, when you feel ready, when the timing is better. But the truth is, later is just fear wearing a mask. And every time you delay, you're reinforcing the very mental trap you're trying to escape. For men 25 and up, this delay loop becomes especially dangerous. Life gets busier, responsibilities grow, and the pressure to get it right increases. So you overthink, you plan, analyze, strategize, and still don't act. Why? Because perfectionism and procrastination are two sides of the same coin. You're not lazy, You're scared of failing, of doing it wrong, of looking foolish. So you wait for the ideal moment, but that moment never comes. And the cycle continues. Rewiring your life starts with killing the myth of perfect timing. There is no right time. There's just now, and a version of you willing to take the first uncomfortable step. The longer you wait, the stronger the trap becomes. The more you hesitate, the more resistance grows. But the moment you act, however small, you begin to chip away at the lie that says, I need more time. The men who evolve aren't always the smartest, most skilled, or most prepared. They're the ones who move. They take imperfect action. They speak up even when their voice shakes. They start building before they have all the answers. Because they understand that clarity comes from movement, not thought. You don't wait for motivation to strike. You create it by doing the thing you've been avoiding. The irony is, the task you're putting off rarely gets easier with time. In fact, the longer you wait, the heavier it feels. But when you take action, any action, you generate momentum. And momentum changes everything. That one workout, one cold shower, one tough conversation, 1 hour of focused work. It sends a message to your mind. I lead, not my fear. This shift isn't just practical, it's psychological. You stop being a passive observer of your life and become the author. And authors don't wait for inspiration. They write through the resistance. Every time you choose to start now, you rewrite your identity. You become a man of action, not hesitation. A man of decisions, not doubt. The truth is, life doesn't reward the man who waits. It rewards the one who moves through discomfort. The one who shows up even when he doesn't feel like it. The one who understands that the cost of waiting is far greater than the cost of failing forward. So stop waiting for some mythical version of yourself to arrive. You're already equipped with what you need, the ability to decide. Decide to move. Decide to begin. Because when you kill the I'll start tomorrow loop, you do more than break a habit. You start to become a man you've always wanted to be. You're not tired, you're numb. You scroll endlessly, binge shows, and dive into distractions not because you're relaxing, but because you're avoiding. You call it winding down, but deep down you know it's a mask. You're not resting. You're running. And what you're running from is the uncomfortable truth, sitting quietly inside your mind. For men over 25, this kind of emotional numbing is almost normalized. You're expected to suppress, to power through, to deal with it. So you do. But instead of addressing stress, emptiness, or burnout head-on, you bury it beneath screens, vices, and constant stimulation. It feels like control, but it's an escape. An escape, over time, kills awareness. And without awareness, there could be no growth. Rewiring your life starts with facing what you've been avoiding. It's about breaking the loop of digital anesthesia and stepping into mental clarity, even when it's painful. Because what you resist doesn't go away. It hides in the background, draining your energy, limiting your confidence, and making life feel heavy. You can't outrun what you won't face. The modern world gives men a million ways to go numb. Phones, porn, casual dopamine hits, endless noise. But none of them bring peace. They just keep you from hearing what your soul is trying to say. And sometimes that message is simple. You're off track. You need to realign. It's time to feel again. The most powerful shift a man can make isn't to hustle harder. It's to become radically self-aware. To slow down enough to ask, what am I feeling right now? What am I afraid of? What part of my life am I pretending is fine, but isn't? These questions aren't weak. They're courageous. They tear down walls you built just to survive. And once those walls are gone, real change becomes possible. Awareness gives you options. When you're aware, you don't default to bad habits. You choose with intention. You don't just react, you respond. You become the man who's not afraid to sit in silence, to face discomfort, to look in the mirror and say, this isn't who I want to be, but I'm willing to do something about it. Feeling isn't the enemy. It's the compass. Numbness is. Numbness will convince you everything's okay while your potential rusts quietly in the background. But awareness reignites your inner fire. It connects you to your purpose, your pain, your strength, your mission. And that connection is what makes you truly dangerous in the best way. The man who feels deeply lives fully. He doesn't run from discomfort. He learns from it. He doesn't escape life. He engages it. And in doing so, he becomes grounded, unshakable, and fully alive. Rewiring your life begins not with doing more, but with feeling more. Because once you reconnect with yourself, nothing can stop your evolution. Your emotions are lying to you. They'll tell you to stay in bed, skip the workout, scroll instead of build, and delay instead of decide. They'll whisper, "You're tired. You've earned a break. It's not the right time." And if you listen to those emotions long enough, they become your master. That's how good men stay stuck, chasing short-term comfort while their long-term potential withers. The harsh truth is this: if you live by how you feel, you'll never become who you were meant to be. Motivation is unreliable. Inspiration fades. But discipline, that's where the real transformation lives. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. Discipline shows up even when every part of you wants to retreat. And that's exactly why it rewires your life. For most men 25 and up, this lesson hits hard. You've tried to make changes before. Maybe you started strong, hit the gym, read the books, and built the habits. But the moment life got heavy, your routines collapsed. Why? Because your progress was fueled by emotion, not by decision. Emotion is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Every time you choose action over excuse, you rewire your mind. You teach yourself that you lead, not your mood, not your fear, not your fatigue. And with enough repetition, you become a man who does what needs to be done regardless of the weather inside his head. That's real power, not the ability to feel great, but the ability to act even when you don't. Discipline also builds trust within yourself. When you say you'll do something and you actually follow through, something changes. You stop doubting. You stop overthinking. You build momentum, not from bursts of hype, but from consistency. And consistency doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be relentless. The truth is, emotions come and go. They are signals, not steering wheels. They can inform you, but they should never lead you. Leading with discipline means you stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You stop wasting energy deciding if you'll do the work. You just do it automatically, like breathing. And no, it's not easy. It's not supposed to be. Discipline is a muscle, and building it hurts. But the pain of discipline is far lighter than the weight of regret. That weight, the one that comes from knowing you could have been more, done, lived more, that's the weight that breaks men over time. But discipline, that builds men who rise. If you want to rewire your life, stop chasing motivation. Chase structure. Chase accountability. Chase the habits that don't rely on emotion. Because when you master discipline, you don't just change your habits. You redefine who you are. And once that switch flips, nothing can pull you back into the trap you've just escaped. You're waiting for life to calm down before you change. But here's the truth. The chaos isn't going anywhere. The stress, the uncertainty, the curveballs, they're part of the game. And if you don't learn how to evolve within the chaos, you'll keep pressing pause on your growth every time things get messy. That pause, it's killing your momentum. Most men think transformation happens in perfect conditions, in the quiet, in the calm, when things settle down. But real growth doesn't wait for peace. It's forged under pressure. It's built in the fire, not outside of it. The uncomfortable, unpredictable moments you're trying to avoid, that's the training ground. That's where you become unshakable. Rewiring your life means becoming a man who doesn't fold when life gets loud. It means building habits that survive the storm, not just the sunshine. Because let's be honest, if your discipline only works when you're feeling great, it's not discipline. If your mindset collapses at the first sign of struggle, it's not strong, it's convenient. You don't grow by escaping the storm. You grow by becoming the one who can walk through it, head up and eyes forward. This kind of resilience is rare, but it's also trainable. It starts with one decision. I keep moving forward, no matter what. You get up when it's hard. You show up when you'd rather shut down. You lead yourself when nobody else is watching. And every time you do, you build something deeper than confidence. You build self-respect. The kind that isn't shaken by failure, rejection, or setbacks. Life isn't supposed to feel ready. The truth is, it never will. Businesses will always fluctuate. Relationships will always challenge you. Your mind will always find reasons to hesitate. But once you stop waiting for perfection, you start becoming powerful. Because you're no longer reacting to life, you're rising through it. This mindset shift is what separates those who chain for a season from those who evolve for a lifetime. You stop chasing comfort and start chasing character. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. You realize external chaos is a test, not of your ability, but of your identity. Every time life gets chaotic, you have two options. Shrink back into your old patterns or lean in and level up. The second choice is uncomfortable. It demands focus, consistency, and emotional grit. But it also leads to freedom. Not freedom from problems. Freedom from being controlled by them. You don't need the perfect moment to rewire your life. You just need to stop waiting for it. The chaos won't end, but you can outgrow it. And when you do, the storm no longer defines your limits. It reveals your strength. You weren't born just to survive. You were built to evolve. But evolution doesn't happen by accident. It demands a decision, a choice to stop living on autopilot, to stop numbing your potential with distractions, and to finally take ownership of your path. The mental trap will always whisper safety, comfort, and delay. But comfort is a cage, and the longer you stay in it, the smaller your world becomes. Now is the moment to rise above it, to reclaim your focus, redefine your identity, and move with ruthless intention. Don't just absorb these words. Apply them. Audit your habits. Break your cycles. Sit in the silence you've been avoiding and face the man in the mirror with full honesty. He doesn't need more motivation. He needs a mission. So take the first real step. Not tomorrow. Not when it's easier. Now. The version of you that's been buried under fear, excuses, and chaos. That version is waiting. Go meet him. And when you do, don't just change your life, rewire it.